All right, family. Black Power is the true power with General Sarasun said he kick back, get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. We got a powerful one today, family. We're going to be 100% talking about 100% proof. Moses wrote the first Bible in the ancient Kemetic hieroglyphs. Got to talk about that. You see, people don't understand the depth of what I'm telling you. So you better buckle in because everything that you've been told thus far is up for questioning. But before we get started, family, I want to make sure you get on over there to my Patreon. Got over 500 exclusive live stream fire. That's all I'm going to take. Fire. Get over there, the link right there at the top of the chat. Click it and join the team. Also, kingseti.com, online marketplace official, General SETI DVDs. We got the t-shirts, hoodies, African Kemetic jewelry, a fly, amazing products. Check me out, family. Also, become a member today. General SETI, Sarasun SETI YouTube page. We got exclusive videos there for you. You can get access to. Do that. Become a member today, and make sure you get this video a thumbs up. Like it because you love it. Share it with your family and friends. Comment. Just don't say nothing stupid because I will. I ban you, family. I ban you. Yeah, we in here doing, this is extracurricular work. You see, you're not going to get this nowhere. So you might as well sit on down, get this work from the general. You know, we're going to highlight some clear things. I'm going to leave you with all the information. You can run up on any Hebrew Israelite, you see, with his rhinestone, do-rag, you feel me? Spikes and bats and all whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or spike wristbands and and all spike on his Timberland boots and all of that. I never knew Hebrews wore Timberlands, but today they wear Timberland. But anyway, we're going to talk about this because this is very necessary. And why is it necessary? Because, everything is holy, but what's African? You see, long as the preacher man can stay on the corner and preach and tell you something about Jesus, tell you something about Moses, tell you something about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and tell you all these things, but do not tell you about the African, Kemetic, Nubian, Cushite spirituality that gave birth to all of that. We supposed to sideline that. But long as the preacher man can stay on the corner and he can teach all these fabricated fairy tale, then it's okay. But we're going to deal, and I'm going to give you all the evidence that you need to defeat anybody from the Pope to the pastor to whoever, in belief of these fairy tales, that somehow the Bible is the oldest book in the world. That's the oldest lie in the world. We will be exposing that. Now, what's critical? Okay, what's critical, and I want you to understand me now, so we can work in chronological order now. Yeah. Let me walk with you. Let me walk with you, family. Let me walk with you. Now, number one. If you go to any Bible, the first 5 books of the Bible is supposedly written by Moses. Okay, the first 5 books of the Bible. What is it? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, what is it? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Okay, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Supposedly written by Moses. Okay, supposedly written by Moses. So when you open up Genesis, it'll say the first book of Moses, Genesis. You open up the second book of Moses, Exodus, and so on and so forth. So that is key that we highlight Moses, because who is Moses? Moses is the first literate. Hear me? Literate Hebrew Israelite. You see, there's no literacy amongst the Israelite. They don't even exist. You see, you wouldn't have never known. And see, we using this hypothetically, family. We trying to work with you hypothetically, because most of us that's in the Kemetic study, we know that this is fairy tale. But since we got to work with you, we got to start where you can understand it. And a lot of people don't, they think this is for those. Now, if you out this class, then go to the next class. You see, but we want to teach from the basic materials, because so that the family can have an understanding. There is no literature professing Abraham, Adam and Eve, a Noah, a Joshua, Jacob, Isaac, or none of that, Ishmael, none of that, until Moses write Genesis. Okay, I'm sorry to tell y'all that if y'all were depending on Noah to write you a book to reveal the blessings that God has revealed, have bestowed upon the world, you would have been out of luck. You know why? Because Noah ain't never wrote no book. It never said no. It ain't nowhere in there where it said Noah wrote a book. It didn't say that God ordained Noah to write a book. It didn't say God ordained Abraham to write a book. It didn't say God ordained Isaac, Jacob, or to write a book. No, none of them. It says in the Bible, it said that God ordained Moses to write the law, the ordinances. And so this is how you know of hypothetically, this is how you know of Adam and Eve. This is how you know of through Moses. This is how you know of Noah through Moses. Okay. And so what you have to understand, and you cannot put the publication, you see, didn't say, well, it did in the Bible. It did say that God ordained. That don't mean we believe it, but yes, it did. It did say that God commanded Moses to write the law. He did say that. We got the documentation. That don't, but it's hypothetical. Okay, so we understand that, and we understand that this is also esoterical knowledge, and and a lot of esoterical knowledge is written in parable. And so when you come and argue the fact that God didn't say, we understand that it's a parable. It's an esoterical parable. So if you understand that, you wouldn't argue that point. Yeah. Well, the sixth, seventh, and eighth book that's Kabbalah. They just, that's Kabbalah. That don't have nothing to do with Moses per se. You see, they use those names to bring merit to, just like they use Tahuti, Thoth, and say Thoth wrote the emerald tablets to give it merit. But that don't, so we have to understand that's esoterical lingo to bring merit to some literature, that somebody just wrote 2 days ago in the basement. So that's what it is. So the sixth and seventh and eighth book of Moses is Kabbalah. But let's stick to the point. Let's stick to the point, because I be wrestling with the AI. You know what I'm saying? I don't just go in there, I wrestles with it till it tap. You see, and the information that I've been giving y'all, I can guarantee you that you can put this information in, and the AI tap and say, you know what? It called me, said, he said, Seti, you cold blooded. This is what AI say, Seti, you cold blooded. You is exactly right, and I'm not going to even argue with you. You see what I'm saying? Because I put it in there just like it need to be put in there. Now, so what we have to understand, because a lot of people say that the Bible is older than ancient Egypt. And we're going to prove that's one of the biggest lies that have ever been told. Okay, the Bible is not older than Egypt. Egypt is thousands of years older than the Bible, hypothetically, you see, and realistically. You see, even when you deal with what little literature they do profess to have, and when it was dated, that right there reveals something great. You see what I'm saying? As in revealing the true history of our people. Okay, the true history of our people. Now let's deal with something, which I've been teaching y'all for the longest, which Dr. Ben taught me. Okay, that the first book of the Bible is not Genesis. Okay, it's not Genesis, it's Exodus. And I've been teaching you that so that you have to have the Bible in chronological order. You see, yeah, and I'm body slamming AI. You see what I'm saying? In there putting the Mike Tyson on them. You know what I'm saying? And so the first book of the Bible is not Genesis, it's Exodus. Okay? And I'm gonna tell you why it's Exodus, because Exodus, when Exodus opens up, Moses is a baby floating down the Nile River. Okay? Moses is a baby floating down the Nile River. Ain't no damn Bible. Okay? Ain't no damn Bible. I'm going to show you when he wrote the Bible, or in the Bible, or in the Torah, okay, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, which is attributed to Moses, okay? And it's hypothetically, and we say it hypothetically so don't nobody lay an egg out there, you know, because some of y'all will lay an egg because y'all don't understand esoterical lingo. And so I'm going to put that out there for you bust a blood vessel in your brain trying to figure that one out. But anyway, so understanding why you have to put Exodus before Genesis. Okay. And if you do that, then everything will fall into place. Then you would understand that Africa and Egypt is far older than anything in the Bible, and that they're creating these fabricated tales to steal the true history of our people coming out of the ancient Nile Valley. Okay, let's talk about it now. Now I wrestle with it, I wrestle and I put the AI in the chokehold. And I went to the highest level that they had. And what I said I said, first I asked how old was Moses when he wrote the scriptures. Okay, that's necessary. Because once you understand it and then you go back into Exodus like I done taught you, then it's going to chronologically fall into place. Now, number one, I say, how old was Moses when he wrote the Bible? Short answer, according to the Bible itself, Moses would have been around about 80 years old when he began his mission, and tradition places the writing of the Torah during the last 40 years of his life, roughly ages 80 to 120. Okay? Ages 80 to 120. What am I saying here? See, when you go, and we went over this in Acts 7, starting around verse 22. I put that in there. Let me put that in there so I can get. This is a beast right here. This is one of the crucial points that really destroy a lot of. If you ain't got this one, you ain't got nothing. This is one of the major daggers that put them on standby. You see, they're gonna get the okay. Okay. Here we go right here. This is critical information right here. Okay, so if you want to, you can get your little Bible out, and you can go to Acts 7, and you can start around 22, and it says, and I'm gonna read it to you because it's so beautiful. It says, and Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptian. It didn't say some. It said he was learned in all the we said words and indeeds. And when he was a full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. Now, right there. You see, because he didn't start writing the Bible until he was 80 years old. See, this is the first 40 years of his life. See, ain't no Bible yet. See, ain't no Bible. They always teaching you that, you should read and you should, that the Bible teaches the true history of ancient Egypt. That's what they tell you. And that Ham is the father of Egypt, and Noah is the grandfather of Egypt and shit. And that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, they forgot to tell the Egyptians that because they never wrote no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So they forgot to tell them. Okay, they forgot to tell them. And so understanding that Moses lived to be 120 years old. Okay, and Acts 7, starting at verse 22, is going to break down them 120 years of Moses' life into 3 40-year periods. So the first 40 years, he's an Egyptian. He don't know nothing else. It was he didn't even know he was an Israelite until he was 40 years old. He didn't know nothing about no Moses. I mean, no Abraham, no Noah, and no Adam and Eve. He didn't know nothing about that. Okay, there was no literature in the world, nowhere, that professed anything about a Noah or Adam and Eve or Isaac or Jacob or what's the other one? You got Isaac, Jacob, and all the other ones. Ishmael and all. No, it was no books. You see, but there was Egypt, there was Cush, there was Africa already there. When the book of Exodus opens up, you talking about Ramesses, you talking about the time of Ramesses, and you talking about Egypt is already in this 19th dynasty. You talking about Ramesses, there was only one dynasty with Ramesside kings, and that was the 19th dynasty. So Egypt is in this 19th dynasty. You see what I'm saying? Egypt at that point was almost, 2,000 years old at that time. 2,000 years old and ain't no Bible yet. 2,000 years old and ain't no Bible yet. So you cannot, contain Egypt and Africa in the Bible. And we are chronologically destroying that myth today. And so he was 40 years old before he even knew he was an Israelite. You see? So he lived as an Egyptian for the first 40 years of his life. And so he got into it with one of Pharaoh's soldiers, and he murdered one of Pharaoh's soldiers. So if you go to verse 24, and it says, and seeing one of them sup, wait a minute, and it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel, at 40 years old, and seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed and smote the Egyptian. He murdered the Egyptian. Okay, so Moses was a murderer. So we must understand that. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And I don't understand, because this is crazy, because he a full 40 years old. It never says how he come into this knowledge, because he didn't talk to God until he was 80 years old. So I don't know how he just out of nowhere, come to know he was an Israelite. It didn't say God whispered in his ear. It didn't say God sent the angel or nothing. God didn't even talk, because when he heard the burning bush, he was so startled. And so if he had been talking to God, he wouldn't have been startled. So when he heard the angel of God in the burning bush, he like, what is going on? Am I under some type of witchcraft or something? So he hadn't even talked to God. So how did he know he was an Israelite is beyond me. Okay, it's beyond me. But anyway, so after he kills Pharaoh's soldier, he have to get up out of there. He had to flee. And so he knew that the people knew he had murdered the soldier. He knew that and so he fled because he fled Egypt for murder. But he go up on Mount Sinai and God supposedly gave him a law, thou shalt not kill, and he didn't fled Egypt for murder 40 years earlier. So what, I mean, you mean to tell me God giving out laws already being practiced? That don't make no sense. That ain't nothing amazing. God gonna give you a law man is already practicing down on the planet already. What kind of sense do that make? But anyway, so Moses flees into the land of Midian. Midian is right next to Egypt. Okay, it's right there on the other side of part of the Sinai Peninsula. You see, part of the Sinai Peninsula were the Mennonites, which were they were tradesmen. They was the ones that with camels, and they took all type of products from one area to the next. So they was tradesmen. You see, much like the Ishmaelites, and so he stayed in Midian for almost 80 years. Okay, that's where he met his Ethiopian wife Zipporah, and he was tending to the herd, and he heard an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in the bush, which they say the burning bush. So he heard something in the burning bush, which is the Bible says is an angel of the Lord. Okay, and so this is the first time he ever talked to the angel or God or anybody. So he's 80 years old at this time. It says, and when the full 40 years were expired, they appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai, an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush. Okay, so he's 80 years old at this point. You see, why am I telling you? Ain't no Bible yet. He don't write the Bible until the last 40 years of his life. So once you understand the chronology of Moses' life, then you can understand the chronology of the books of the Bible. You can't put the publication before the publisher. Moses is the publisher, you see. And so when Exodus opens it up, Moses is a baby. He's floating down the Nile. Ain't no damn books. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all got to put this in chronological order. Yeah, so you can't come, after Egypt is 2,000 years old and write some damn book talking about Ham is the father of Egypt. Why the Egyptians didn't know that? They've been here 2,000 years. They ain't never wrote of no Ham. They ain't never wrote of no Noah. If Noah was their grandfather, don't you think they would have wrote of Noah? If Ham was their father, I mean, that's your father. Who gonna know more than you about your own father? So you mean to tell me Egypt is 2,000 years old? They ain't never wrote about no Ham. They ain't never wrote about no Noah. They ain't wrote nothing of that. See? So we got to be real about this. And so for all you people out there falsifying the facts, we here to wake you up. And so now that you understand that, now when I ask, listen to me, because I'm gonna get right back over here, to this AI. Get right back over here to this AI. And so it says, according to the Bible itself, Moses would have been about 80 years old when he began his mission, and tradition places the writing of the Torah during the last 40 years of his life, roughly 80 to 120. Okay. And so it says, okay, let me get down here. And it says Moses' age according to the text. So even when you go into Exodus, the book of Exodus 7, chapter 7, verse 7, it states Moses was 80 years old and Aaron was 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. Okay. So after he talks to the angel in the burning bush, he's been given his command to go back to Egypt and free the Israelites and ask Pharaoh to set the Israelites free. Okay, so Moses is 80 and Aaron is 83. Okay, length of Moses' leadership. So, according to biblical chronology, Israelites wandered 40 years in the wilderness. Moses dies at the end of this period. So this is when he writes them books, supposedly the last 40 years of his life. Okay? Egypt is already 2,000 years old at that time. You see, you talking about the Ramesses, and that's the 19th dynasty. Ramesses ruled in 12, right around 1290 BC. So Egypt was already, started around 3400. So Egypt is already 2,000 years old, even at the time of Ramesses. This is ridiculous. You see, and so you're gonna write a book called Genesis and talk about how Ham is and how and how Noah is his grandfather. This is garbage. This is hijack. We got to clear this up real quick. And so Moses was 120 years old when he died. Okay, and his eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. Okay. And so it says, traditional Jewish and biblical view, Moses wrote during the wilderness period between ages 80 and 120. Listen to me, this includes the laws, the narratives, speeches, especially Deuteronomy, but it never say he wrote Genesis. There's nowhere in the Bible where God tells Moses to write Genesis. It shows where it tells him to write the laws, the narratives, the ordinances, the speeches, and all of that. There's documentation for that. Nowhere where it said that Moses was told to write Genesis. So who wrote it? Who put it in there? You see, who put it in there? We got to find out. Moses wrote the Torah late in life, not as a young man. Okay, so we got down to the get down, and so, but listen to this. And we already know that Moses could not have written about his own death and burial in Deuteronomy 34, and Joshua did the same thing, and it says, and this was the prophet Joshua who wrote and spoke these things. Well, goddamn, did Joshua write of his own death and burial? So somebody else is writing this literature. Who writing it? And so listen to me. Let me get on down to it. So I asked it because I'm glad these people didn't put this little AI out here so I can put something in here. I say I already got that point. So we put the documentation in there where Exodus 24:4, it says, and Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. After receiving laws as a Sinai, it says, and so we talking about and where it's at least it said that the Lord told him to write down something. And so this is where he write and the Lord said to Moses, write these things. This is Exodus 34:27. The Lord said to Moses, write these words, for in accordance with these words, I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. So we got the document, Numbers 33:2. Moses wrote down their starting places stage by stage by command of the Lord. Okay, Deuteronomy 31:9, the law written and handed over. So Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi. 31:19. Okay, so Deuteronomy 31:24 through 26, completion of a scroll. So he wrote on a scroll. You see, they ain't never wrote on where they get that from. When Moses had finished writing the words of this law in a book to the very end. What book? What scroll? They ain't got no, where he learned how to do that. God then commands, take the book of the law and put it beside the Ark of Covenant. You see? And so this is the documentation that we got. Now, I asked it the last Okay, listen to me, because I know what I'm talking about. I told the AI, I say Hebrew wasn't a written language at the time of Moses, because in the Bible, it never says that there is a language of Hebrew. It is referred to as the language of Canaan. Moses never went to Canaan. Moses died before the Israelites even went into Canaan. He died in the wilderness. Okay, so he never knew no Canaanite. You see, he never knew no Canaanite, and they didn't know no Canaanite. They had just spent 400 years in Egypt. They knew Egyptian. They did not know no Canaanite. They did not, which later became Hebrew. So I told them, told the AI, Hebrew wasn't a written language at the time of Moses. So when he wrote the Torah, what language did he write it in? Because the only language he knew was ancient Egyptian. I told the AI, you know what the AI said? Listen to what the AI said. This is an excellent question, and it gets to a real historical problem that the Bible itself never clearly answers. Here's the clean, evidence-based explanation separating textual claims, linguistic history, and later tradition. Did Hebrew exist as a written language in the time of Moses? This is what the AI, you know what it says? Short answer, no. Okay, which I've been telling y'all for the last 20-something years. Hebrew as a fully developed written script did not yet exist in Moses' supposed lifetime. And that creates a serious contradiction with later claims. You hear this shit? I've been telling y'all this shit for forever. You see? Now listen what it says. It said, what period are we talking about? Traditional biblical chronology places Moses roughly in the late Bronze Age, 13th century BC, some argue early. I just said around 1290. At that time, no evidence exists for a standardized written Hebrew script. The earliest Hebrew inscriptions appear centuries later in the Iron Age around the 10th and 9th century BC. What does it say? It says what written languages did exist during the late Bronze Age. The dominant written languages in the Eastern Mediterranean were number one, Egyptian, hieroglyphic, hieratic, everyday cursive script. Demotic came later. Egypt had one of the oldest, most advanced scribal systems in the world. Then they got some Akkadian cuneiform, Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite. Okay, so what language could Moses have written it in? Let's listen to what it said. Based on historical probability, there are only three options. Option one, Egyptian, hieratic, most historically plausible. Wow. Wow. See, this is see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Been teaching this shit for 20 years, but today I'm able to put it and put the AI in the headlock and make it tap and say, you know what, goddamn it, Seti, you right. You right, Seti. Okay. Option. So that's the first option, the hieratic, the one that's most historically plausible. Okay. The only language he could have been fully literate in was Egyptian, likely hieratic. Hieratic was used for laws, used for administration, used for religious texts written on papyrus. This is the only language that fits the education Moses is said to have had. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's powerful, family. And the fact that I've been saying this for 20 some years, I got all the videos up there, documentation. This is really like, that's why a lot of people just tapping on now, because I can say what need to be said and get the proper answers. You feel me? And so, you see, so he didn't write the Torah as we have it. This is academic consensus. Okay, so What does the Torah itself claim? Interestingly, the Torah never says Moses wrote in Hebrew. It only says he wrote. No script or language is specified. The silence is telling. The silence is telling. You see, he says later Jewish tradition says Moses wrote the Torah in Hebrew. But historically, Hebrew scripts develops after Moses' time. Ancient Hebrew itself evolves from earlier Northwest Semitic dialects. Here it is. Core logic, we at the end of it now. Core logic, no dancing around it. Listen to what it say. You are correct to say the only language Moses would have known how to write fluently was Egyptian. You see what it said to the general? Say, you are correct. In which I've been telling these lying ass Hebrews for the last 20 years. That is historically sound, supported by scribal archaeology, consistent with the biblical portrayal of his upbringing. Bottom line, Hebrew was not yet a written literary language. Egyptian was the dominant scribal language. The Torah does not specify the language Moses used. The most likely scenarios, Mosaic traditions were oral. Some material may have existed in Egyptian. The Torah was later compiled and written in Hebrew by scribes. Later. You see what I'm saying? And so if you would have got a scroll from Moses, according to, it wouldn't have looked no different than any other Kemetic scroll. You see what I'm saying? So when we start talking about the Bible, when you looking at the Kemetic scrolls, that's your Bible. That's what you looking at. It would have been a mirror image of all the other books of the dead, all the other Medu Netta scrolls. That's what it would have looked like. Period. You understand? It makes sense. And so, what do you really believe in? You see, what do you really believe in? I'm so glad that, some of this information is coming out today. You see what I'm saying? I'm so glad that this information is coming out today. And so I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I'm like Thanos like right now. You feel what I'm saying? I'm gonna be snapping fingers and I'm gonna just watch you, all y'all just disappear. It's gonna be a very critical time in this new day and age. You see what I'm saying? Because I got the mind I got the mind, the body slime, the AI. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, family, I appreciate y'all being here today. You know what I'm saying? 100%. And I came with 100% proof too. I didn't come with 50. I didn't come with say. I came with 100% proof. Moses wrote the first Bible, if he lived, wrote the first Bible, Torah, in the ancient Kemetic hieroglyphic, more probably the hieratic, the alphabet, the script of the priest. That's if he wrote it, that's what it would have been written in. I'm done. Okay. I'm gonna continue to spit this truth. So if you have to go and just watch this and take it down and but give credit with credit, because I already got 20 years worth of documentation that I've been saying it. Because so make sure you tell them the general is the one that gave you that information. But I want you to master the information, and I want you to go out there, take this, and you a body slam the Pope. The Pope will bow down and kiss your ring. You feel what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all, family. I'll see y'all in a minute. This is the general. Make sure you get over there to Patreon, support the general, putting this powerful information down to the people, unlike any nobody out there. Please believe it. Please believe it. This is the general saying, hey, arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beast. Daily liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black power.